Hi, Colts. It's Mrs. Hladun. I hope that you're doing well. Today is a Monday. It's May 11th, and I hope that you had a really nice day. Today, the weather was really nice. It was a little cloudy. It started to sprinkle a little bit, and I hope that you enjoyed the slightly cooler weather. So let's jump in. Today, we're going to read the second half of I think it's chapter 13 called I Am Colin. Chapter 13 of I Am Colin from the Secret Garden. So when we left off with the story, Mary heard the child crying and she went to go figure out who it was, and she met a young boy named Colin who was kind of locked up in a room, and it turned out that he was Mr. Craven's son, and he was the child that Mrs. Craven had had when she passed away. And so Mary's getting to know this strange young man and he's getting to know her, and it's a very interesting thing. He also just found out, Mary just told him about the secret garden, so they were talking about the secret garden. Let me see where I was. I think I was right here. So Mary, I think I read this part a little bit, but that's okay. Mary had not known that she herself had been spoiled, but she could see quite plainly that this mysterious boy had been. He thought that the whole world belonged to him. How peculiar he was and how coolly he spoke of not living. Do you think you won't live? She asked, partly because she was curious and partly in hope of making him forget the garden. I don't suppose I shall, he answered as indifferently as he had spoken before. Ever since I remember anything, I have heard people say that I shan't. At first they thought I was too little to understand, and now they think I just don't hear, but I do. My doctor is my father's cousin. He is quite poor, and if I die, he will have all of Misselwaith when my father is dead. I should think he wouldn't want me to live. Do you want to live? Inquired Mary. No, he answered in a cross, tired fashion, but I don't want to die. When I feel ill, I lie here and I think about it until I cry and cry. I have heard you crying 3 times, said Mary, but I did not know who it was. What were you crying about? Were you crying about that? She did so want him to forget the garden. I dare say, he answered. Let us talk about something else. Talk about that garden. Don't you want to see it? Yes, said Mary in quite a low voice. I do, he went on persistently. I don't think I ever really wanted to see anything before, but I want to see that garden. I want that key dug up. I want the door unlocked. I would let them take me there in my chair. That would be getting fresh air. I'm going to make them open the door. He had become quite excited, and his strange eyes began to shine like stars and looked more immense than ever. They have to please me, he said. I will make them take me there, and I will let you go too. Mary's hands clutched each other. Everything would be spoiled, everything. Dickon would never come back. She would never feel like a missel thrush with a safe hidden nest. Oh, don't do that, she cried out. He stared as if she had gone crazy. Why? He exclaimed. You said you wanted to see it. I do, she answered, almost with a sob in her throat. But if you make them open the door and take you in like that, it will never be a secret again. He leaned still farther forward. A secret, he said. What do you mean? Tell me. Mary's words almost tumbled out over one another. You see, she panted. If no one knows but ourselves, if there was a door hidden somewhere under the ivy, if there was and we could find it, and if we could slip through it together and shut it behind us and no one else knew that anyone was inside, and we called it our garden and pretended that we were missel thrushes and it was our nest, and if we played there almost every day and dug and planted seeds and made it all come alive. Is it dead? He interrupted her. It soon will be if nobody cares for it, she went on. The bulbs will live with the roses. He stopped her again, as excited as she was herself. What are bulbs? He put in quickly. They're daffodils and lilies and snowdrops. They're working in the earth now, pushing up pale green points because spring is coming. Is the spring coming? He said. What is it like? You don't see it in rooms if you are ill. It is the sun shining on the rain and the rain falling on the sunshine and things pushing up and working under the earth, said Mary. If the garden was a secret and we could get into it, we could watch the bigger things grow bigger every day and see how many roses are alive. Don't you see how much nicer it would be if it was a secret? He dropped back on his pillow and lay there with an odd expression on his face. I've never had a secret, he said, except that one about not living to grow up. They don't know I know that, so it's sort of a secret. But I like this kind better. If you won't make them take you to the garden, pleaded Mary, perhaps I almost feel sure I can find a way to get in sometime. And then if the doctor wants you to go out in your chair, and if you can always do what you want to do, perhaps we might find some boy who would push you, and we could go alone, and it would always be a secret garden. I should like that, he said very slowly, his eyes looking dreamy. I should like that. I should not mind fresh air in a secret garden. Mary began to recover her breath and feel safer because the idea of keeping the secret garden seemed to please him. She felt almost sure that if she kept talking and could make him see the garden in his mind as she had seen it, he would like it so much better that he could not bear to think that everybody might tramp onto it when they chose. I'll tell you what I think it would be like if we could go into it, she said. It's been shut up so long, things have grown into tangle, perhaps. He lay quite still and listened while she went on talking about roses, which might have been clambering from tree to tree and hung down, about the many birds which might have built their nests there because it was so safe. And then she told him about the robin and bedweatherstaff, and there was so much to tell about the robin. It was so easy and safe to talk about it that she ceased to be afraid. The robin pleased him so much that he smiled until he looked almost beautiful. And at first, Mary had thought he was even plainer than herself with his big eyes and heavy locks of hair. I did not know birds could be like that, he said. But if you stay in a room and you never see things, what a lot of things you know. I feel as if you'd been inside that garden. She did not know what to say, so she did not say anything. He evidently did not expect an answer, and the next moment he gave her a surprise. I'm going to let you look at something, he said. Do you see that rose-colored silk curtain hanging on the wall over the mantelpiece? Mary had not noticed before, but she looked up and saw it. It was a curtain of soft silk hanging over what seemed to be some picture. Yes, she answered. There's a cord hanging from it, said Colin. Go on and pull it. Mary got up, much mystified, and found the cord. When she pulled the silk curtain back on its rings, and when it ran back, it uncovered a picture. It was the picture of a girl with a laughing face. She had bright hair tied up with a blue ribbon, and her gay, lovely eyes were exactly like Colin's unhappy ones, agate gray and looking twice as big as they really were because of the black lashes all around them. She is my mother, said Colin complainingly. I don't see why she died. Sometimes I hate her for doing it. How queer, said Mary. If she had lived, I believe I should not have been ill always, he grumbled. I dare say I should have lived, too. And my father would not have hated to look at me. I dare say I should have had a strong back. Draw the curtain again. Mary did as she was told and returned to her footstool. She is much prettier than you, she said, but her eyes are just like yours. At least they're the same shape and color. Why is the curtain drawn over her? He moved uncomfortably. I made them do it, he said. Sometimes I don't like to see her looking at me. She smiles too much when I am ill and miserable. Besides, she is mine, and I don't want everyone to see her. There were a few moments of silence, and then Mary spoke. What would Mrs. Medlock do if she found out that I had been here? She inquired. She would do as I told her to do, he answered, and I should tell her that I wanted you to come here and talk to me every day. I am glad you came. So am I, said Mary. I will come as often as I can, but, she hesitated, I shall have to look every day for the garden door. Yes, you must, said Colin, and you can tell me about it afterward. He lay thinking for a few minutes, as he had done before, and then he spoke again. I think you shall be a secret too, he said. I will not tell them until they find out. I can always send the nurse out of the room and say that I want to be by myself. Do you know Martha? Yes, I know her very well, said Mary. She waits on me. He nodded his head toward the outer corridor. She is the one who is asleep in the other room. The nurse went away yesterday to stay all night with her sister, and she always makes Martha attend to me when she wants to go out. Martha shall tell you when to come here. Then Mary understood Martha's troubled look when she had asked questions about the crying. Martha knew about you all the time, she said. Yes, she often attends to me. The nurse likes to get away from me, and then Martha comes. I have been here a long time, said Mary. Shall I go away now? Your eyes look sleepy. I wish I could go to sleep before you leave me, he said rather shyly. Shut your eyes, said Mary, drawing her footstool closer, and I will do what my ayah used to do in India. I will pat your hand and stroke it and sing something quite low. I should like that, perhaps, he said drowsily. Somehow she was sorry for him and did not want him to lie awake, so she leaned against the bed and began to stroke and pat his hand and sing a very low little chanting song in Hindustani. That is nice, he said, more drowsily still, and she went on chanting and stroking. But when she looked at him again, his black lashes were closing against his cheeks, for his eyes were shut and he was fast asleep. So she got up softly, took her candle, and crept away without making a sound. And that's the end of the chapter. So the next chapter we're going to read is called A Young Raya, and I'm interested to know what that's about. We'll read it more tomorrow. All right, friends, I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.